Introduction. I think I know who you are. After September 11th, 2001, you thought our country had changed for the better. But the months that followed proved otherwise. We began to divide ourselves, and the partisan bickering that had been absent from blood donor lines and church services started all over again. You sometimes argue with friends about politics, not because you're a political activist, but because you think the issues are actually important. You have strong beliefs, but you also have an open mind and a warm heart. You try to do the right thing every day. You work hard. You always try to do your best, and you play by the rules. You have credit cards, but you can make the payments. You have a home, but with a loan you can afford. Maybe you bought a flat-screen TV that wasn't exactly a necessity, but you've never been reckless. You don't have much in savings, and your retirement plans have lost a significant amount of money. You may go to church, but on most weekends, you don't really want to. You'd rather sleep in or play with your kids. Besides, it always kind of bothers you that people cut each other off in the parking lot right after the service. You have children, and like all families, you also have your share of problems, but you're making it. You constantly hope that your kids don't really notice that you're bluffing as a parent most of the time. You feel like there's just not enough time in the day anymore just to be a family. Everybody is going 6 different directions. You know the material things don't matter, but you also wonder why it makes you feel like a bad parent if your kids don't have certain shoes or the newest video games or aren't signed up for 5 different sports teams. You didn't have anywhere near the kind of stuff that kids have today, and yet you look back on your childhood with a sense of nostalgia and pride. If your family was poor, you didn't know it. You turn on the television at the end of a long, tiring day and watch as endless analysts in left and right boxes argue about things done by bankers that, in retrospect, now seem implausible. You're worried about what's happening to our economy, but you're more worried about what it means for your family, and you're not sure what to do. You try to tune out the bickering by watching an entertainment show, but there are times when you're uncomfortable watching those with your kids. You're not a prude, but you happen to think that a 3-year-old shouldn't be watching shows that treat sex lightly and mock mothers and fathers. But what can you do? The other shows are even worse. You've taught your children the difference between right and wrong, and yet they come home with language and habits that they didn't learn from you. You're shocked to hear what they're learning in school, but you don't want to really make a fuss because they're the professionals, and you don't want to be one of those people anyway. You don't cherish conflict. You just want everybody to get along. You don't hate people that are different than you, but you stopped expressing opinions on sensitive issues a long time ago because you don't want to be called a racist or a bigot or a homophobe if you just stand by your values and principles. You believe in treating people justly and honestly, but there is a difference between right and wrong. You go to bed exhausted almost every night, knowing that you have to get up the next day and do it all over again. You thought that the politicians you supported and defended cared about the issues you do. Then you began to realize that you were wrong. They only care about themselves and their careers. You feel used and betrayed. You don't think it's right that while you worked hard, living prudently and spending wisely, those that did the opposite are now being bailed out at your expense. You realize now that the self-serving politicians and bankers built our financial system on a house of cards that, despite the cheery promises and rosy forecasts, is now collapsing. Now, our government, the instigator of our problems, is telling everybody that they have to start sacrificing. Don't they understand that I already have been, you think? You weren't the one spending too much money or living on money you didn't have. You made decisions rooted in logic, while others made decisions rooted in greed. Yet now everyone must pay equally? Yet, despite all of that, you're still willing to sacrifice more because you want America to succeed. But you demand the plan is based on common sense and actually has a chance to work. You've called your congressman a few times in the past, but they didn't listen. Now you just scream at the TV. It's about as effective as the phone calls. The light from the television flickers on the darkened room walls. People at tea parties across the nation fill the screen. You don't know how to feel. You want to do something, but that isn't you. You're not an activist. You don't make signs and chant, USA, USA, USA. So you just turn off the light and go to sleep. Every single night, it seems, you face a choice. Do you unplug or do you speak out? Both of those options make you feel uncomfortable, so you do neither. And your frustration continues to grow. The first step out of our comfort zone. The fastest way to be branded a danger, a militia member, or just plain crazy is to quote the words of our founding fathers. I imagine that this is because words have consequences, and the words and ideas that those men shared were revolutionary. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. It is not time to dissolve the bands that connect us to one another, but it is time to dissolve the political bands that separate us from one another. Even if we disagree on politics, the phrase, "I am an American," is not just a collection of words, it's the embodiment of an idea, one that has power only because we, the people, give it power. But somewhere along the way, we've forgotten that. We feel so small and helpless as our country just drifts away. Perhaps what we need is a reminder of who we are, who is really in control, and most important, a reminder of how we got to a place that bears less and less resemblance to the America we remember from our childhoods. Let us start by doing what we've been trained for so long not to. Let us declare the causes that unite us.